motivation, some meditation, some inspiration. If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. So a lot of times we utilize what we have inside. A lot of times we utilize our challenges. We get ourselves to a place of focus. We get ourselves to a place where what we're using on the inside is there for us. As always, we need to ask ourselves the questions: is it about motivation? Is it about inspiration? Is it about meditation? If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. So what kind of challenges are you working through today? What kind of place are you getting into? What kind of things are you going through? I'd like to see if anybody would like to get an energy reading. Reach out. Motivation, meditation, inspiration.yoga. On Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So let's go ahead and start looking a little bit at this point about energy. And the ability for us to use energy. It's a living organism, requires energy to stay alive, such as an energy human. Get food from civilizations, require energy to function, which it gets from energy resources such as fossil fuels. So what is it that fuels you? What is it that drives you? What is it that you can see that conversion in you? How can you utilize it for yourself? How can you put yourself in a place where you're using your mentality, where what is it that drives you? What is it that brings energy to your life? How are you using your energy? And like, how can we compare it with a city's energy? Like, what is it that drives them? Do we put the right kind of stuffs into our system? Do we put the kind of stuff that brings positivity, that starts to get the energy to flow? That like, one of those things that I really enjoy is lemon and salt. Like creating a power plant inside of ourselves, creating a way inside of ourselves to utilize what we have inside, to use our own energy to flow, to what drives you, what fuels you. What is it that you do every day that brings you closer to using your fuel? Like cities that use fossil fuel, they require fuel. And what is it that fuels you? And each of us are living, and each of us have challenges, and each of us have things that we have to work through, and we have stories, and we have things to focus on. And what is it that you focus into? When do you start to ask yourself those types of questions? When do you start to get down with those kind of challenges, to where you're utilizing what you have on the inside, where you're utilizing what is it that when you do these things, the fuel, the energy inside of yourself starts to work. When you start to use your mentality, when you start to use the ability inside of yourself, you start to overcome your challenges. Because each of us are going to have challenges. Each of us are going to have things that we need to work through. Each of us are going to have things that are going to be there, and that are going to ask us the same question: what is it that fuels you? And even when we look at fuels, there's different types of fuel in itself. Some of us are running off of multiple different types of fuel. Some of us are running off of singular types of fuel. Like, what kind of dreams are you putting your focus? What are you putting your intention into? What is it that when you do these types of things on a daily basis, the reflection starts to radiate outwards? What is it that when you do these types of things, you start to see the energy increase inside of yourself? What is it that like a lot of these cartoons and things like that, they talk about that place where we give ourselves the ability to gain energy. Like, we can look at things like Dragon Ball Z. We can look at things like Star Wars, for instance. Perfect examples of people who have demonstrated ways in which mentality can be utilized. And what about the ability for us to focus past our challenges? And how do we start to get through them? And And how do we start to use the energy inside of ourselves as fuel? And so, is it inside of the level of focus? Is it inside the universe? What is it that drives you? What is it that truly makes you yourself? And a lot of people like Qigong, Kundalini. They like the energy. They like, some of the people enjoy to master the book, and some enjoy to master the chapter. And what about inside of the energy in itself? The actual energy that flows inside of you, the chapters. And when does it come down to the simplicity of studying oneself? It's interesting that when we look up what fuel is, we see that it is a substance that runs energy. We all are energy. We all have a place where energy flows inside of ourselves. Like when Robert Kiyosaki said, energy is nothing less than, emotion is nothing less than energy in motion. What does that truly mean? What does it mean to you? What is it that, and we look into meditation in such a way that we start to break down these energy fields. We look at the fuel source, we look at the heater. When we take a scan of a human being and we start to see that there are energy within ourselves, that we have a place inside of ourselves, that we have a reflection that radiates outwards, that people can see you as energy. They can see you as a reflection. They can see you as a level of understanding. And where do you draw your fuel from? How do you draw your fuel? Some of us go into a gym and we use our energy when we're lifting weights. Some of us go for runs. Some of us write. Some of us sing. Some of us put ourselves on a page where we understand the connection. And spiritualism is nothing less than knowledge and focus in a place of reflection, where we're using that energy to that level where the understanding, and a lot of people from India understand that there is a place beyond religion. There's a place where the being becomes connected to a level beyond. And we see this in places. We look at the fact that, like in the United Kingdom, you have people that are like monks. You have people across the face of the planet. And I've been doing this for a long time. I've been putting myself in that place where we utilize the ability inside of ourselves, where we focus, where we go beyond our challenges, where we give ourselves that place to go within. And it's on that page that we utilize our energy. And it's on that page that the universe starts to use that energy. It's when we sit down inside of our ability and we open our mind. What kind of energy can you produce when you open your mind? What kind of place, what kind of drive can you use? How can you utilize your drive? Where can you utilize your drive? What is it that drives you? A lot of people ask this question, but what is it that fuels yourself? What is it that when you do these types of things, you are in your element? And it is inside of your element that you start to find yourself. It is inside of your ability to sit down and to grind through things that nobody else will do. It's when you sit down inside and your mentality has a purpose. What is it that brings you close to yourself? I look at the connections and the energy fields across the face of the planet. I look at the golds, the blues, the purples, the yellows, the greens, the reds, the oranges, and the white energy fields across the face of the planet. And I look at the mere fact and the connection and the equation and the ability for us to become a part of that equation and to see that and to start to see the facts that give us an ability to have a higher level of understanding, an inwards understanding, an inwards being, an inwards purpose. And it's inside of that ability inside of ourselves that we go beyond our challenges. It's inside of that ability inside of ourselves where the mentality starts to open itself up. And it's with an able mentality that we start to fuel ourselves. Is when what we're writing down, we have the ability to focus through. It's when we're going beyond what other people can't that we go within. It's when our mentality goes to that place where what we have inside radiates light outwards. It's up to you to write it down. It's up to you to put it in front of yourself. It's up to you to put your mentality in this place. If you're meant to speak, it's up to you to speak. If you're meant to sing, it's up to you to sing. Nobody else can do that for you. If it's up to you to write stuff down, it's up for you to see the equations, to see the challenges that you have in front of yourself. It's up to you to be who you are on the inside. It's up to you to see that you can focus past those kinds of challenges. And it's inside of yourself that you find who you are. It's inside of your being that the manifestation starts to radiate light outwards. It's when you focus past your challenges. It's when you do this for yourself. It's when you hear the practice within you vibrating outwards. It's with that kind of focus that we get to that place. It's inside of that challenge that we become that kind of manifestation. And it's focusing on that ability to see positivity. Blessings. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Blessed. How are you doing?
I'm singing, but I'm living in Switzerland. I speak French. I speak little English.
It's okay.
And I have a question for you. I want to sing for you, and you tell me if I sing good or no.
So you utilize your hearts, huh? A lot.
I'm singing. You tell me if I sing good.